I'd like to make a motion to appoint Alderman John Luby as acting mayor for purposes of this evening's meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you. Okay, call to order. And roll
Honorable-
call. Yeah.
Honorable James Cowie is absent. Alderman Grumhouse.
Here.
Alderman Novit.
Here.
Alderman Widman is absent. Alderman Goltra.
Here.
Alderman Morsch.
Here.
Alderman Hanrahan.
Here.
Acting Mayor Luby.
Here.
Alderman Palmer.
Here.
If we can have a pledge allegiance to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Comments by the acting mayor. We have a resolution this evening of appreciation for Jeff Holmes for serving on the Parks and Recreation Board. And do we have that here, the resolution?
Page 5.
We do need a motion. Motion to approve.
Is Jeff here this evening?
No, he is not.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution for Jeff Holmes.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And we have an appointment of Dan Marinic to the Parks and Recreation Board to fulfill the unexpired term of Jeff. We need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. We have a new member. And now comments by the city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Mayor, members of the council. About a month ago, I came before the city council on a number of matters, and we had talked at that time about needing to come back to you to get authorization, some direction on fulfilling the acquisition of salt that we had left in our state bid contract. That was end of January, and we were sitting on an awful lot of salt in our salt dome, and then as soon as I said that, we entered February and had the fourth snowiest February, I think, according to Tom Skilling, that we've had in history. So that'll teach me never to open my mouth again about salt at a public meeting. But the reason that we're here this evening is because we do have some options. We have secured 80% of our allocation, which is the minimum amount of salt that we can purchase from the state of Illinois. We can go up to 120%. And before we did that, we wanted to talk to the council about sort of the staging of purchasing the salt now, waiting until the new fiscal year, waiting until later on. And so this evening, the Superintendent of Public Works, Ken Leone, is here to go through a brief presentation about the options that are available to the city and then get feedback from the city council. Ken?
Thank you, Bob, and good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. The chart that was put on the table in front of you and the chart that's on the screen is the updated version comparing the end of February this year to the end of February last year. And essentially that shows that we have used 3,060 tons of salt this year, which is more than last year. We have only 459 tons remaining of our supply. So we're at a critical stage right now. Fortunately, we got through the weekend without using any salt. It looks like the weather in the next week will be good, and we hope winter will be over in 3 weeks. We hope, never know. So with that in mind, 459 tons is just not enough for us to feel comfortable to make it through the winter. We have some excellent options. And over to Karina, if you would. As Bob said, we have 1,200 tons available to us under the state program at $64 a ton. This is part of the current bid process and the current contract with North American Salt. We purchased 2,400 tons. We're entitled to 3,600. So we can buy 1,200 tons now at $64 per ton, which is the price we've been paying. The same vendor, North American Salt, has offered us unlimited additional salt at $64 a ton as long as we place the order in March, take delivery in March or very early April. So there's another opportunity. We are out to bid with Highland Park, Deerfield, and Lake Bluff, a mini consortium. The bid opening for this group is March the 18th, so we'll see how we can do on the open market. We also have the option from the state to renew our current contract for the coming winter of 2010-2011, and they guarantee the price will not go up more than 5%. $64 times 1.05 is $67.20 a ton. So we know that if we renew, we will not pay any more than that for next year. That bid result will be available to us in the summer. The other thing we can do with the state is to enter their new bid process throughout the $64 a ton times 5% increase and take our chances in the market, and the price may go up more or may go down. We don't think it'll go down, but don't know. The other option is to look at the open market right now. We placed a call this morning to our 6 vendors from the past. Only one had the price for us immediately. That was $84.50 per ton delivered, so higher than the state bid price. The other 5 said they would try to get back to us as quickly as they could. So we still have that option to us. All of these are available at this point. Our timing is such that the Highland Park opening on March 18th gives us time before the March 19th deadline of responding to the state with our program for next year. So our recommendations. We have expended our budget for this year. Well, actually, we're owed a little bit of money by the school districts because they take salt from us and they reimburse us. But for next year, the FY11 salt budget is $188,000. We recommend that we buy the 1,200 tons available to us under the current contract at $64 a ton. $76,800 is the total there. With the remaining money, we suggest purchasing an additional 687 tons at $64 a ton. Total there is $44,000. That will leave $67,200 in the budget. Use the balance to renew our state contract for the coming winter with the guaranteed price not to exceed 1.05 current, not to exceed $67.20 a ton. That will allow us to buy 1,000 tons at $67.20 per ton, expending our budget. We would then have 1,200 tons bought under the current program, 687 bought under the extended $64 price from the North American Salt Company, 1,000 bought under next year's state program. We currently have 459 tons of salt on hand, so we could conceivably enter next winter with 3,346 tons or 3,346 minus whatever we use the remainder of this winter. Everything that's mentioned here could be bought within the budget. Ideally, we'd like more salt. We'd like to enter next winter with 4,000 tons, but as you've heard many times, the 15-year average is closer to 2,200 tons per year. The last couple of years, we've been in the 3,000 plus range, but it varies. Who can predict accurately what salt usage and weather will be? But these are our recommendations for now, and we certainly welcome your comments, questions, and suggestions.
Can I just have a general comment? I usually don't get compliments from residents. They usually have something that they want to talk about and problems. I've just gotten a lot of compliments of how we've handled the storms, especially the times that it's hit during the early mornings, and just a lot of compliments of our staff and the roads and the conditions of when people have to leave for work or during the holidays. I think it was done just tremendously. So you and your staff and everyone should be commended of how well they did. And I know we're a little high on the salt, but the residents, at least to me, have spoken very favorably of what we've done, and kudos to you guys.
Thank you very much. And Michael Silvestri, our street supervisor and snow commander, is here. So he's the guy to thank. He's the one that doesn't sleep at night when it snows, and he's out checking the field conditions and directing the crews.
He does look a little tired, doesn't he?
I have just a quick question. Do we track the capacity of our suppliers of salt? Are they bringing more salt availability online, or have any intentions of doing so in the future?
No, we don't track it. Our understanding, though, we keep an eye on the 2 salt depots that serve us, the main depots. One is in Milwaukee, one is in Calumet City. And each of those has a capacity somewhere in the area of 1 million tons, and each of them is down to about 300,000 tons right now. We're told that's about normal for this time of year for them. The piles may seem like they're large, but that's what they expect to have at this time of year. That's the information we have. No, we don't track beyond that.
We're probably shipping it to Arizona this year.
When I look at, for next year, we obviously buy ourselves that 500-ton cushion, but that would top us out at 3846, if I'm doing the math right.
Correct.
Is that enough in a tough situation? I mean, it seems like we're going to be at that number this year. And I know, I appreciate the 15-year, but, you know, certainly one of the things that we've seen is the last 3 or 4 years have been, I don't know what it is, global warming or non-existent global warming or sunspots. I've heard a lot of different theories, but, you know, we're definitely trending more on 30-year winners than we are on 10-year winners. And so if we have the storage, I guess I'm wondering, you know, should we be buying more and having this extra cushion?
We have significant storage capabilities with the new municipal services. The old buildings are still standing at the old site. If we are perhaps allowed to use those one more winter, we can store 2,400 tons plus at the new building, 800 tons at the old. So we have a significant storage capability. Yes, we would love to have more salt, but the budget has been so tight. It's kind of hard to work in as much as we'd like. If you would like to be generous, we will certainly.
Well, you know, again, what I'm trying to avoid is the nightmare of last winter, the winter before, when we're out buying it at $150 or $200 a ton, because we're 500 short. You know, it's not like we're losing this money. We're just losing the interest on it, and we don't earn interest, and even if we did, we wouldn't earn any because the banks don't pay any. But so I guess I'm wondering whether we should, you know, buy a little bit more under the, you know, the 1,000 and take that up a little higher so that we give us ourselves security up to 4,000.
I would certainly support that.
I agree.
So we should salt it away.
Salt it away.
We want to fill the salt cellar. Can we get any more salt at the $64 rate?
We were told that we have almost unlimited resources at that rate at this point.
But then, see, what we lose if we do that is we lose the flexibility on the state contract to reject.
In the future.
No, reject between the 80 and 120, right?
Yes.
Right.
Because
Right.
what we would, if we took more there, now what we might want to do is if we're going to buy another 200 tons, maybe we buy that at the 64. Maybe that's what John was saying.
Yeah.
That's what I would
So
say.
we buy
Do that.
buy 1,400 at 64, and then, you know, leave the state contract as is.
Right. And then it gets your
Yeah,
bonus at the
that-
$64.
right. And
Actually, we were going to buy 1,200 at 64 plus 687 at 64
Right.
above and beyond. So we could increase that, you're suggesting perhaps?
Increase that by 200.
By 200?
Would be my,
Sure. We can do.
Then we'd still have the state with the percentages.
we'd still have another 500
Yeah,
that we could
we'd
take
be
from
all
the
set
state that
there.
would get us to 4,000.
Right.
I'm sorry, what is the goal that you're looking for?
My goal is to have 4,000, to be able to draw 4,000 if we need it.
Okay.
And, you know, what I think we've seen, obviously, if, you know, we have a pathetic winter and we only use 2,000, then, you know, we've got the storage for 2,000, you know, even without we've got 2,400.
Well, the other thing to keep in mind, and some of you will recall this, is that whatever is left over as of April 30 doesn't get charged to that fiscal year, it gets rolled into the new fiscal year. That's the way that the new GASB audit rules are. So if we ended up with, say, 1,000 tons, then the budget would actually look good because it wouldn't be charged off against the FY11, it would be
Right.
rolled into FY12.
Yeah, and, you know, I mean, I appreciate the budget, but, you know, we're not losing the money, so.
Right.
But I think that's, you know, I think we gotta do what we think in the long run is
Right,
the
we
most
don't want to get
economical.
stuck again.
Yeah, and the material doesn't deteriorate.
All right. Well, in your budget, keep in mind, and this is something we talked about during the budget meetings, is the $188,000 is in the Public Works Department budget. We also have council contingency money, and that's
Right.
2 years ago, we had to pull from there. So what we can do is just adjust our state allocation for FY11, and then we can buy or not buy based on how good or bad the year is, but then that money is set aside in we'll earmark it in the council contingency for salt. To get
You
you
know,
up to 4,000.
We should certainly find out on these other 4 bids that you have out on the spot prices, and we should certainly see how the Highland Park, you know, consortium comes out, and whether there's a big savings there.
Yes.
But, you know, assuming there's not, then, you know, I would probably take the
Take the best
Take the
price.
687 up to the 887 and save save the $3.
Well, and I have to say that here is a good example of the forethought in building the larger salt dome, because now we're able to buy it at a more attractive price and store it.
Well, that was the idea, yeah.
That's right. It is paying off.
You know, and most likely that 450 tons on hand today, that's not gonna be there by the, I mean, we're gonna
use some of that down.
We're
yeah.
gonna use that in the
There'll be
next
at
few
least
weeks.
one
You know,
more.
we're supposed to have another at least week of cold weather, really cold weather, so.
Yeah, a month ago I thought we'd have 1,000 left over,
Yeah.
but
Right.
that clearly isn't
Didn't
gonna
happen.
happen.
How quickly can we get the 1,200? Because as you say, we're one storm away from being out, right?
I believe we can have delivery within days.
Okay.
It's in Milwaukee waiting for us. We can order in the morning.
We were just waiting actually for direction for this evening for the council. We'll put the order in as soon as you give the go-ahead. But if your goal is 4,000, then we will
Yeah, I
act
think we should.
accordingly to make sure we have enough to cover us through these storms, and then wait and see what happens on March 18th, and we'll pull the trigger at that time.
Is
Yeah.
everybody in favor?
Absolutely.
Okay, I think you have the direction.
Excellent. Thank you very
Good,
much.
thank you. Comments by council members? Any comments? No. No, I want to let the snow plow crowd know on the sidewalks, what a great improvement this year with using those blowers. And they go a little bit slower, but boy, they clean it right down to the bottom. And I've heard a lot of dog walkers and people on Deer Path and going to the trains. What a big improvement. They also cut through where the driveways are and the streets are so that people don't get to the end and get stuck. So a very nice job, a big improvement from what we've had. Thank you. Okay, Finance Committee report.
Thank you. We have on the agenda consideration of an ordinance increasing the fee for the parking at the lakefront. Looking for final approval here. As you will recall, we went through this at the council meeting last time. This will essentially take the beach parking permit from 75 to 85 and eliminate the senior discount.
We have a motion. Any discussion first? Other than that, we'll take a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. That's a roll call, isn't it?
Yes.
Alderman Grumhouse.
Aye.
Alderman Novit.
Aye.
Alderman Goldshaw.
Aye.
Alderman Morsch.
Aye.
Alderman Hanningham.
Aye.
Alderman Luby.
Aye.
Alderman Palmer.
Aye.
7 yeas, no nays, the motion carries.
And that brings us to the opportunity for public to address the city council on non-agenda items. Is there any comment from the public? There being no comments, that'll move us right into the consent agenda. And the first item there is approval of the minutes from February 16th regular meeting, and the minutes are attached. Is there any comments on the minutes? Okay. Approval of the authorized invoices and payrolls during the month of February. The following amounts were dispersed from the cashier's account. Well, the total is $1,608,590.05. And the third is authorization of the treasurer's warrants to meet expenses of March 2010. The motion authorizes the mayor and city clerk to sign such warrants as may be necessary to meet the March 2010 audited accounts. And the last one is authorization to enter into a joint agreement with IDOT associated with the resurfacing of Green Bay Road. And we have discussed that here before. The projects to resurface Green Bay from Wesley Road to Alden Lane, it's scheduled to be under construction this upcoming May through August. Last year, the city pursued federal stimulus funds and was successful in getting 70% federal funding through Lake County Council of Mayors and the LAP program. Since that time, the city was also successful in securing $726,000 in Illinois Department of Transportation funds through the State Emergency Repair Program to resurface Green Bay Road. This amount represents approximately 93% of the estimated construction cost, since the ERP funding is a greater amount and saves the city approximately $180,502 by reducing its funding share. It's recommended to accept the ERP funds and enter into agreement with IDOT outlining the funding responsibilities for the construction phase of the project. And there is information on that in the packets. It's recommended that the city council enter into a joint agreement with IDOT, which will document the funding responsibilities for Phase 3 construction of the project to resurface Green Bay Road from Wesley Road to Alden Lane at $726,000 for IDOT and $53,283 for the city of Lake Forest. Any comments on that?
I do have one question, and Ramesh, perhaps you can help me with this. As long as we're making sure to coordinate the traffic with this in Western Avenue.
Right, no, that's our game plan, Alderman. Western Avenue will be at the last stage, around June, July, we'll be on the, between Deer Path and Vine. And we are hopeful that we'll try to get that particular section, because the detour traffic does go on Green Bay, so that we're trying to coordinate to make sure that when the detour traffic is on Green Bay, we're not working on Green Bay. So it's hard to tell today, but that's our game plan, is to avoid that section during the construction of Western Avenue.
Okay.
And this will be with the Winnetka mix?
We are fighting
still
hard with
working on
IDOT. IDOT this year, since we are using the IDOT funds, they don't approve the Winnetka mix because they got their own standard mix. But we are making constant communications with them to make sure that we get the Winnetka
To push to get the right
Yes,
stuff?
that is the-
Because it does last longer.
That is true.
Right. Okay, and we need a motion to accept all of these.
And move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call.
Alderman Grumhouse.
Aye.
Alderman Novit.
Aye.
Alderman Goldshaw.
Aye.
Alderman Morsch.
Aye.
Alderman Hanrahan.
Aye.
Acting Mayor Luby.
Aye.
Alderman Palmer.
Aye.
7 yeas, no nays, the motion carries.
Thank you. And now ordinances. We have consideration of a report and recommendation from the Zoning Board of Appeals to grant a variance from the side and rear yard setback requirements for a lot in depth at 1435 North Green Bay Road. And we have Megan O'Neill doing this for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Acting Mayor Luby, members of the council. Just to orient you to this property, we are at 1435 Lake Road. It's on the east side of Lake Road, just south of the intersection with Spruce. I'd like to give you just a brief history because it does contribute to the uniqueness of this lot. Historically, the structure in question was built as a coach house for a larger estate to the east. The city approved a subdivision in the 1950s, which created a relatively small lot, and shortly after that, the coach house was converted into a single-family home. This lot is significantly smaller than surrounding lots along Lake Road, and it has a significantly smaller building area as well. The property is also located within the historic district and did require review by the Historic Preservation Commission. So here's a survey of the property. This house has been on the market for several years. The new homeowners petitioned the Zoning Board of Appeals in January for a zoning variance to really upgrade the existing house and provide an addition to the rear and the second floor extension. As a result, to changes to the zoning code, when you take into consideration the setbacks for the R4 district, the steep slope line, the lot and depth setback, the fact that the buildable area is only 25 by 25 feet, any addition that you build really would require a zoning variance. On January 25th, the zoning board unanimously recommended that the city council approve the zoning variance. At that meeting, there was no member of the public who came and spoke. The findings outlined in your packets really reflect the uniqueness of this lot and show the zoning board's support for the requested zoning variance. The Historic Preservation Commission reviewed the project on January 27th, and again, there was a unanimous vote to grant a certificate of appropriateness. At that meeting, there were 2 members of the public who came and spoke in support of the design. At this time, the recommendation for you this evening is to waive the first reading and grant final approval of the ordinance, which I believe starts on page 33 of your packet, to allow the proposed addition to be set back 32 feet from the east property line and 14 feet from the south property line. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Question? As there's no questions, we'll take a motion to waive first reading.
So moved.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve the ordinance?
Second?
It's been moved and seconded, and that's a roll call.
Alderman Grumhouse.
Aye.
Alderman Novit.
Aye.
Alderman Goldshaw.
Aye.
Alderman Marsh.
Aye.
Alderman Hanrahan.
Aye.
Acting Mayor Luby.
Aye,
Alderman Palmer.
Aye.
7 yeas, no nays, the motion carries.
thank you. Are there any additional items for council discussion? Other than that, we'll take a motion for adjournment.
So moved. Second?
Been moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Finished, new record.
It's another movie.
Not quite, not a record.
Yeah, it is.
No, it isn't.
It's 8:12 last time.
Only one?
No, no, it's not a record. We've done it.